Welcome to the Endure Hunt podcast. Join me as I share my experiences as an emergent hunter, offer advice on how to overcome challenges and pursue your passion for hunting. I am your host, Andrew Lukosevic, and today's episode is going to be a little bit different. I want to talk about a few different topics today. First, I'm going to talk about my 2024 hunting season, application season, my thoughts going into the season. I want to talk about the elephant in the room. If you're watching this podcast on Spotify or on YouTube, you should have noticed that on the last episode, episode 28, with Chris Smith of the Wild Vittles podcast, that my office is looking kind of empty. This is a shared space. I use this office for my day job, as well as for recording these podcasts. And we're honestly just about packed up. And the reason for that is I'm moving. My wife and I have been in Texas for the last 4 years, and we are moving to Tennessee to get a little bit closer to family. It's been honestly kind of hard for us to be able to see family and friends, although we've made new friends and connected with plenty of people while we've been here in Texas. It's different than being closer to your family. We are moving to Tennessee. As of this podcast going live, we should have already been in Tennessee for a couple of weeks now. I'm recording this January 31st, and we move in next week, actually. We move next week. So it's coming up very fast, and we've still got quite a bit to do. I'm excited for the new journey. It's going to definitely change the way I look at the 2024 hunting season. But on top of that, I also want to discuss just a reflection of a year's worth of doing podcasts. I'm recording this early, but my podcasting schedule, I've already got the whole month of February booked out. And I started this podcast March of 2023. So when this comes out, it'll be just about a year that I've been doing this podcast. I wanted to take some time to just kind of reflect and express some gratitude to people that have helped me along the way. I've still got a long way to go. Full disclosure, I still have no idea what I'm doing half the time. I still have a very long way to go, but compared to the way the podcast was a year ago, it's just totally different. And I'm really excited to kind of be where I'm at today. So that's everything that I want to talk about. I think it makes sense because this is a hunting first podcast. Let's dive into my 2024 hunting season, what I'm looking forward to, what I'm applying for, and how this move is going to change things. I've mentioned this on a few podcasts. I'm recording this on January 31st. For those of you in the Western hunting application game, you know that means today is the final day to apply in Wyoming for elk and for spring turkey. As this podcast comes out, you're well past the date. But as I'm recording it, it's on my mind because I have been building points in Wyoming for 5 years. And I can finally get a general elk tag. But I'm not applying for elk in Wyoming this year. Between the cost of the move and the move itself, I don't know that I'm going to be able to dedicate the time and resources that I would like to fully embracing that hunt. I've been building points for the last 5 years. A lot of money and a lot of time that I can't get back. As much as I want to go and hunt elk in Wyoming, I just can't get myself to be willing to put in for that tag, knowing that my life is going to be chaotic over the next few months. I'm probably not going to be in the best physical shape. I definitely won't be shooting my bow as much. It's in storage right now. And I don't want to get that tag and not be able to give it 110%. It hurts to say this. I've talked to plenty of people about it and mentioned that I would love to finally be able to go out and hunt Wyoming elk, especially because things are always changing. For those of you not following along, there's some big changes to Wyoming elk this year. They're region based. You used to be able to do the entire state as a general unit, well, all the general units within the state. Now you have to apply for a specific region. There's 3 different regions in Wyoming as it stands. Who knows if that'll change next year. And prices of tags are also going up in Wyoming. The special draw tag for elk is about $2,000 now. I believe that makes it the most expensive elk tag, especially a general elk tag in the West. I'm pretty confident in that. I think the next most expensive state is Montana, which is always a difficult one to buy a tag for. Even doing that general deer combination license last year was pretty expensive. But if you're in the non-resident Western hunting game, it isn't exactly cheap. So it pains me to say this, but I will not be hunting Wyoming elk this year, even though I have, according to Go Hunt, 100% chance of drawing that tag. Hopefully next year, when things are a little bit more stable and I can dedicate the time that I want, I'm going to put in, and that, fingers crossed, that's going to be my hunt for 2025. I would love that. But we're not talking about 2025. We're talking about 2024. So, what am I going to do if I'm not applying for Wyoming? I did Montana last year. There's a chance that I could draw a tag in Montana again with 0 preference points as a non resident. But truth be told, I'm really just going for my low chance, random luck draw odd states. I'm applying for Arizona. As this podcast comes out, the application period is already gone for Arizona. It's the first week of February. I think February 6th is the deadline, at least for some species. I will be applying in Arizona. I apply every year. I am going to shoot for the fences. I drew my tag in 2022. So I'll be going in with 1 point, technically 2, because I should have a loyalty point this year. This would have been my 5th year actually applying for Arizona. So I should have my loyalty point this year. And the one thing I keep kicking myself for, because I've been saying it 2 years now, is doing that non-resident hunter education online course to get the permanent education bonus point. I'm committed to doing that this year. I am going to do the non-resident hunter education. If you were listening to this and you were like me and you keep saying, oh yeah, I'm going to do that, I'm going to do the application, I'm going to do the course, and I'm going to get the bonus point, but each year you don't do it, shoot me a message on Instagram, send me a DM, comment on a post. You can find me at Endurhunt, ENDURHUNT. I would be happy to be your accountability partner. I will follow up with you. We can have a study group, talk about it. I imagine that the course itself is not that difficult. It's just been hard for me to dedicate and prioritize. I think it's really prioritizing. I have not been able to prioritize effectively doing this hunter education, and I imagine other people are like me and they're struggling with everything else that's going on in their lives. If that sounds like you and you want someone to hold you accountable and follow up with you, send me a message. I'll be that guy. But anyway, from an application standpoint, I'm going to throw my name in the hat for Arizona. I'm going to shoot for the stars when it comes to pronghorn, mule deer, and elk, of course. I'm not going to miss out on elk. And we will see. We will see. I will not. If I draw, if I draw a Unit 1 archery elk tag, I am not going to have the money to do a guided hunt again. But the thing that I'll tell myself is, you drew it on luck. You might be able to draw it again. Who knows? Maybe things will work out and I will end up having money for a guide, because that's a hell of a hunt if I can draw that hunt. For those who don't apply in Arizona, Unit 1 is like the elk unit. No one draws that tag. I think as a non-resident, you could have 20 points and you still have very low chances of drawing that tag. So that's why I don't mind throwing the unit name out there. I do also have the over-the-counter archery deer license. I do have the over-the-counter archery tag for deer in Arizona. So I missed out on the January season. Packing has been insane. I was also spending some time in Tennessee looking at houses and stuff earlier this month. Would have loved to have gone out there. If y'all haven't, for those of you listening that do not know Carrie Beeson of the Salty Yak podcast, he actually invited me out to hunt Arizona with him in January. I wish I could have gone. He did a great podcast on it. You should check it out. But they had an awesome camp, and no one filled their tags. So there's a chance that they'll be going out there again later this year, depending on how the application seasons go. And there's a chance I might be going out too. Whether they go with me or not, I think there's a chance that I try and go and fill that tag. New Mexico is also one that's on my mind. New Mexico is another state that I have been saying for years that I want to put my name in the hat for. I've never done it before, but I think this year I'm finally going to. I'm going to shoot for the stars, just like with Arizona, throw in for a couple of units that I don't really think I'm going to draw because I don't want to guarantee that I draw a tag that I might not necessarily be able to dedicate time to. I know this sounds very wishy washy, but the thing that I haven't mentioned yet is honestly, I'm excited to be able to hunt some public land again. The area I'm moving to in Tennessee has honestly a decent amount of public land that is within reasonable driving distance. I won't need to worry about camping. I could do stuff before and after work potentially. I could do things on weekends. And I'm actually really excited for that. There's been, I've been lucky to hunt, and I've said this on other podcasts. I've been lucky to hunt some private land here in Texas, and that I don't really intend on stopping that. I've already talked to Carrie about doing the late season muzzleloader doe hunt here in Texas, and I'm super pumped to do that because it just seemed like so much fun. I still have goals of hunting different species in Texas. There's still the Texas applications that I'm definitely going to do this year. I just kind of assume I'm not going to draw anything because the draw odds aren't very good, but Texas is always on the list for me now, especially because as I will be a non-resident, the cost is no different for me to apply. So, absolutely going to continue applying for different hunts in Texas. Although I'm probably going to miss out or stop applying for most, if not all, of the whitetail hunts, with the exception of a few where you can hunt different species. Talked about some of those on the Hunt with Taylor Shear. Oh, what episode was that? Way back in episode 13. So, what does my 2024 season actually look like? I'm applying for Arizona. I'm going to apply in New Mexico. I'm going to apply in Texas. Actual hunts that I am planning on doing, a lot in Tennessee. It'll be really exciting and fun for me to try and figure out some new land, deal with hunting pressure, and maybe I'll have success, maybe I won't. And then coming back to Texas to do that late season muzzleloader hunt. Those are the ones that I am confident that I'll be doing. Tennessee and the muzzleloader hunt in Texas. If I get lucky and I draw an Arizona tag, or if I draw a New Mexico tag, I'm going to have to find a way to make it work. When there's a will, there's a way. And I might do that Arizona over the counter tag. If things work out and it's smooth, but I don't draw any tags out west and I have time, honestly, I would love to go out and chase some coos deer or mule deer with a bow. Outside of that, I'm building points the same way I've always been building points. That's not going to change. Absolutely buying another point in Wyoming for all the species. Well, not all the species: elk, mule deer, and pronghorn. Arizona, I'm applying for everything, including bighorn sheep, because I mean it's $15. It's no different. I already am buying the license and applying, so might as well build the points. Maybe I'll get lucky. I'll be buying bonus points in Montana and building points in Colorado and Utah as well. So that about covers it. Lots of point building, not a whole lot of applying this year. Different than many other years. Usually I have a single hunt that I know I'm going on, and that's the one that I go for. This year's very different just because of the move. I'm excited, to be honest. It's a big change, but it gets us a lot closer to family, and I think the change of pace from Texas it'll be an interesting one. All right. Enough of the life updates, enough of the applications. Now I wanted to take some time and just sort of reflect on nearly a year of doing this podcast. When I first published this podcast and it went live the end of March 2023, I recorded a few episodes so that I would have multiple to go live all at once. And it's funny to think about how much I hate those episodes now. Whenever I'm a guest on someone's podcast and they mention listening to my episodes, I'm like, please tell me you didn't listen to like the first four. And the podcast has changed a lot since then. I've been doing video podcasts the entire time. That's not going to change. My scenery has changed multiple times. I've done a couple in person podcasts with Carrie. I've recorded in at least 2 different locations in my house. And I've done a lot more guest podcasts than I kind of thought that I would. But looking back at the year, I didn't really have a whole lot of expectations, and I really still don't in terms of like numbers and metrics and followers and all that stuff. I'm just trying to create something that I would have wanted, and whether or not that works out really well, I mean, to be honest, it doesn't really matter because this is as much for me as it is for the people that are listening to it. But it is fun to look at numbers and kind of see things. I do a lot of numbers work with my day job. So as of this recording, I have 524 total downloads of my, this will be my 29th episode. But as of recording, there are 26 live. So I've got 2 more scheduled that, and then this one that I'm recording right now that are live. So over 26 episodes, I have 524 downloads. Some episodes did much better than others. My 2 most popular episodes, my number 1 podcast is my Arizona elk hunt, which that's just an exciting one. And then my second most watched, downloaded, listened to episode is my episode with Kent Boucher, episode 18. And that's actually where I wanted to go next with my reflection on 2023 and the first year that I've done with podcasting. I know I did a similar episode back in December talking about the year of 2023 and how much things have changed. It was an audio only episode I wanted to put out there. This episode is just looking back on the actual totality of the year that I've been doing this. And I said this in that previous episode. I think it was 24. I did not start this podcast anticipating that I would do a lot of guest stuff. I wanted to focus primarily on my own experiences and what I've learned. But when Kent connected with me on Instagram, it was a moment where I had to reflect and figure out who I want to be. And I also had to confront my imposter syndrome. When you are, I'm 31 right now, and most people I know that hunt have been doing it since they were a kid. I started when I was 26, 25, something like that. It's very different. And I've been in, just for a sake of comparison, I've been in my industry professionally, my job, my day job for 8 years. And I still feel like I don't know anything. But there's a lot of people that look up to me in that job because I have a lot more experience than them. And that's what I was telling myself most of the time is, your podcast, your experience, you can connect with people that have been in your shoes before. And that's what I'm trying to do. And I felt like the only way I could do that was by sharing my experiences to the small group of people that are just like me, emergent hunters, first gen hunters, adult onset hunters, whatever you want to call them. But then Kent reached out and I had to confront myself and see who I wanted to be and how I wanted to do this. And despite being admittedly terrified, I went on the podcast and did everything with him. And it has just been great. I have a completely different perspective about podcasting and connecting with guests than I did. If I didn't get over myself and get on that podcast, I don't think I would have met and connected with nearly as many awesome people as I have. I'm looking at the list right now. And I've got friends on here too. My first few guest episodes were with friends. And part of that was always, it was just easy for me to talk to them. And for the most part, I have more Western hunting experience than them. Other than Peter, I know I do have more hunting experience than Peter. We're going to cut that part out. And I always wanted to do some interviews, but I wanted to focus primarily on people that were kind of behind me in the journey, talking about their experiences. But if it wasn't for that first episode I did with Kent, and I'll link that one in the show notes, maybe it'll overtake the Arizona elk episode. But if it wasn't for that episode with Kent, I definitely would not have connected with the people that I have. It would have been much less open to doing other podcasts. I wouldn't have been talking to other people. And I mean, just looking at the list, Carrie Beeson, Adam Buchanan, Justin Sproul, Kent, Chris Smith, who his podcast came out before this one. And then I do have my friends on top of that: Andrew Coltsoon, Taylor Shear, Peter Kropinski. It's been pretty great, to be honest, and one of the most enjoyable things for me. And it has helped me to also learn while sharing information to people that want to listen. So not only do I get the benefit from talking to someone like Chris Smith, who's an incredibly passionate wild game cook, I get to share that information for other people that also want to listen to the things that I have to say. And it's been awesome. It's been a humbling experience. I am not a big podcast. I don't know that I'll ever be a big podcast, but I wanted to thank everybody that I have connected with and had on, or I've been on their podcast. I appreciate all of you. It's been great to be able to meet other people that share this passion, that want to help other people, that are being a good voice for hunting and conservation. We need more of that. And for all of you that are listening or following along on social media, I just want to say thank you. You know, I say this at the end of every episode, that time is our most valuable asset and resource, and I don't take it lightly that you choose to spend it with me. You could be listening to anybody else, you could be doing anything else, but you've taken the time to listen to this podcast, talk to me. Many of you have sent me messages. I've texted some of you, and it's been a great journey. You know, I benefit from these podcasts, especially the ones with guests, but also the ones I do by myself, because I have to sit down and really reflect and think about what is the message that I'm trying to share, and what is it that I want people to learn from this episode or take away from this episode. And that forces me to sit down and be more conscious about what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. Anyway, in closing, I just want to say thank you. It's been an amazing year of podcasting. I'm committing to years of podcasting. I want to continue to do this for a long time. I know as I grow in my personal hunting journey, I'll be able to share more with all of you, provide greater lessons, hopefully help all of you achieve the hunting goals that you're looking to achieve. And I'm just excited to see where things go. I can't wait to do my 100th episode and see how different it is than it even is today with episode 29. I'm very curious how much will change in that time. All right. Thank you all for being there with me along this journey. 1 year of podcasting. It's exciting. And as always, thank you for taking the time today to listen to this podcast. Time is our most valuable resource, and I don't take it for granted that you're choosing to spend it with me. I appreciate all of you very much, and I'll talk to you all next time.